Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome back to the Blacktown Premier League podcast, the only podcast in the world that covers a couple of divisions that are more important than the Euros and the Copa America in tandem, which begin in a couple of days. That's right, Blacktown Premier League podcast. My name is Mark DePoli. 6 p.m. this Saturday during the Ropes Crossing Carnival, and 3 p.m. on Sunday, first v second in the WPL. That's how serious it gets. Strap yourselves in, and let's have a look at what's happening in this week's episode. Yes, that's right, everyone, as we cross the halfway point of the season, in fact, we're well past it now. Every single game is a six-pointer. Whether you're going for the championship, whether you're trying to make finals, whether you're trying to escape relegation. This is crunch time. In exactly 2 months' time, we're going to be teetering on September, and then it really will be finals time. If we can see one or two teams get on a run of 2 or 3 wins, you never know where they could end up in the season. It's going to be an amazing run-in. Thanks for joining us. Let's cue that intro music. This weekend's WPL game is arguably, and in my opinion, the most important one that we've had in its short but sweet history. It's first v second. Kellyville are coming to visit one of the Blacktown teams in Quakers Hill Juniors. And after the inevitability of Holroyd last year, who just looked like they were running away with it, Kellyville might be top, but it's because they have a couple of games in hand. If Quakers win their next 2 games, they're right up there with Kellyville. That's why Quakers Juniors vs Kellyville this weekend is the most important game, because it could shift the tide of this season and the table completely. It's going to be huge. I'm honoured to be able to commentate it, and I think we should go straight into the interview. Should we? Let's do it. Yes, Sec. Welcome back to the podcast, my friend. On behalf of all the Quakers Hill Juniors girls, at the right bold record-breaking time of exactly 10:13 on a Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining up at this late time. Look, to be honest with you, I'm in awe of this team. 5 wins on the bounce, 6 out of 7 for the season. You have the enviable task of picking out for me. Which do you think of those 6 wins has been your best performance of the season so far?
It's a hard question, hard to pick because you enjoy every win. There was a couple that we toughed out. There was one against Norwest where we came from behind a couple of times and we ended up winning in the second half. I think it was a 3-2 win. And yeah, pretty much every game was hard for us. It wasn't easy. We had to work. The girls had to work hard to get the win. So nothing has been given to us on a platter. We really had to work hard for it. Yeah. So every game has been tough. And so far so good. We had a loss in our first game, and we haven't lost since. So hopefully we can continue that after this weekend as well.
And certainly it speaks to the quality of the competition that even though you guys are doing well, it's not been necessarily easy for you guys. Even though the results might look like it is because you are just performing so well. I ask you the opposite question now, but I can have a guess at which game it might be. So which has been the most difficult game of the season so far? My guess would be Kellyville.
Well, yes, Kellyville, purely, if you look at it from the results point of view, but it was a tough game. Obviously, Kellyville was a very good team, very experienced, and if you don't perform, at 100% and to your abilities, then more times than not, you find that they'll get the better of you. It was a funny game. There was about 15 or 16 minutes of stoppage because our goalkeeper got injured. She had to come off, and they haven't actually added that into the injury time. So we basically lost 15 or 16 minutes, and so the game just got away from us. I'm not finding excuses, but it didn't help. But yeah, it's once again we came from behind twice, but in the end they just got the better of us, and they quality shot. So yeah.
Yep, I can understand. Now you've got some absolute star power in the team. I mean, Izzy has scored 3 in a row now. Marion's, of course, back among the goals. Olivia picked up a brace the other day as well. So, but also in Izzy, we're talking about like a former Spartans first grader at some points throughout the season. So the quality that you guys have is utterly fantastic. Now I raved on about during last week's podcast about the level of quality of individuals that you guys have. So does that make your job any slightly less stressful week to week, knowing that you can just turn to players that can expect goals week in, week out?
Yes, well, Whether it's easier, I'm not sure, but it definitely there's times where you can just rely on individual brilliance. You know, we have a couple of really good players that can, when the team is not really going at 100%, they can find something in there to inspire the whole team and just pull them along and get the result that we want. And it's easy, but there's a number, like just about every game there's another player that steps up. And this is what I like about the team, that no matter who's on the field, they always give their best, give 100%, and there's no weaklings. We have a squad of 17, but there's a few injuries that have been creeping in and out, but hopefully we'll be back to full squad in the next week or two. And whoever I put on the field, does their job. So that's, I suppose every coach would want that, but it's a bit of a headache for me now with starting 11 because with so many performing so well. But it's a good headache to have, Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's a good headache to have. Now,
Mm.
this weekend, in my opinion, is probably the most important game of the entire season. It's the one that could bring it back even on points should you guys win. It's a chance for Kellyville to maybe wrap up the minor premiership. Obviously, anything could happen, but it really is a great opportunity to make this a week by week. We'll see who goes at the top of the table. So. It's a rematch of the only game that you lost of the season. It's the only game that separates first and second. So the mighty Kellyville Colts are the ones calling on Sunday. So obviously we've just talked about the previous encounter, but I want to know what did you learn from that one, and what can you reveal might sort of be the things that you might tweak and change going into this Sunday.
Oh, look, that was our very first game of the season. Up until then, we had a few trial games, but not through the fault of our own, but they weren't probably the strongest of oppositions that we would have liked to have before the season started. So we weren't really pushed hard, and so when we played Kellyville, it was we had to step up to another level, and we fought. Like I said, we came back from behind twice. At one point, we were 3-1 down, and we brought it back to 3-all. And then goalkeeper got injured, and they scored a couple of late goals, and so be it. But we have learned, analyzed. We had the whole game recorded on video, so we have analyzed it a little bit, and hopefully, we'll find a way of getting one back and maybe
Fantastic.
go for an upset and an upset win.
Oh, I don't think it would be an upset, my friend. You guys have really taken the competition by storm this year. I personally, the fact that I get to commentate it is a blessing. I'm so excited to be able to watch that game, and I hope that the masses are tuning in because it is going to be a huge one. And obviously, you don't know this, but the whole podcast is going to be centered around this fixture. So, I'm
Oh
hoping
wow!
that everybody tunes in, because it's probably the most important WPL game that we've had the pleasure of hosting in the 2 years
Oh,
we've
wow.
been doing it. So. Um,
Well, I'll definitely be listening.
I hope so. I won't give you any advice. Don't worry. I'll just be calling it. As you can probably hear, our audience, we're sounding quite tired. So let's wrap this one up for tonight. Thank you so
Right.
much for joining us so late.
All right. Thank
Really
you
do
very much.
appreciate
Thanks
the
for the
outset.
opportunity.
Of
Thanks,
course.
Mark.
Well, yes, you could probably certainly tell that it was well past my bedtime and everybody else around me was asleep, so I had to be quiet. But in fact, Jacek always brings the laughs and is quite in tune with where his team sits and is managing expectations very, very well. Quakers Tigers could have leapfrogged Eastern Creek with a win on Saturday night, but it wasn't to be, and the noisy neighbours from Morrow Reserve at Blacktown Football Park beat them 2-0 and have cemented themselves, for the time being at least, in the top four. To the PL2 action and some midweek catch-up, and I honestly cannot believe I'm saying this again, we've had a 12-0 result. And they did it in 75 minutes. Oakville scored 12 goals past Rudy Hill last night. Both Malenja, Shukuru, and Mwene, of course, got on the score sheet thrice. Benjamin Barrett and Nathan Eskalinen got on it twice each. And a couple of other goal scorers were thrown in there as well. 12-0 to Oakville, as they look really, really good. In a slightly closer game, we have had a change of hands at the top of the PL2 table, and we really do have a push for promotion as we head towards the latter stages of the season. Polonia fell 2-1 to Glenwood, who have now leapfrogged the Rams, the Redbacks, up into first place. A come from behind win after Lockie Nixon scored his millionth goal of the season in the first half. Sebastian Sabogal then got the equaliser coming off the bench to do so, and then of course their favourite son, certainly at the moment, Ben Inns, got on to the score sheet with a couple of seconds left to go. Amazing. To the WPL. Kellyville recently scraped a 3-2 win over Rouse Hill Rams, and that was the only game that was able to go ahead because it was on their synth at Bernie Mullane. Last night, Marion lost to Castle Hill in one of the only catch-up games. 2-1 they went down. Eastern Creek just seem to quietly keep going about their business every single season now, and they find themselves in top 4 again. Let's go chat to them. Eastern Creek are looking to clinch back-to-back finals finishes as they continue to cement themselves as First Division bigwigs. Finally, for the first time this season, we welcome Eastern Creek, Danny and Mitch Hinton, of course, to our podcast. Mitchy, I'll throw straight to you, mate. Talk me through some of the new boys, the new signings this year. Pius came in from Prospect. He's popped up with a couple of goals. Hoss has joined in midfield, and he's been really good from what I've heard so far. Dimi Petrados, of course, was a name that turned a lot of heads at the start of the season, and he's scored a couple too. So, what's your opinion on some of the on the impact of some of these signings and how they've fared so far in the team?
Yeah, they've been good. They've gelled really well with the squad. And, it's hard to replace the boys that we lost, but they've sort of filled that role, which is good, and it's helped strengthen our squad. And yeah, they're a good addition to Eastern Creek.
Mm-hmm. Danny, the win over Marion. You did it again, mate. How did that feel? And was that a special feeling?
Listen, it's always a good thing to beat the benchmark in the comp the last couple of seasons. So yeah, it's a game we like to challenge ourselves against, and last couple of games we've come out on top. I put together game plans against nearly every team we play, and the game plan we have against them seems to work quite well at the moment. So hopefully it can take us into the next game, or we'll have to tweak it, but we'll see.
It certainly does make me think about could things have been different had Eastern Creek been a grand final team last year. But that is something that we will never know. Now, I don't want to talk about that too much because that was a freak result, a freak game. What I do want to talk about is the present and now, because again, I continue to be impressed with the results that you guys put up. No matter the changes, you guys just keep doing good things. I will go back and talk about the Tigers game. So it's a big result for you guys because it put you 3 points clear of the Mitch on the weekend. Now, from what I've heard about that game, I didn't get to come watch, but you're in control from sort of start to finish. So does that statement ring true to you? And what was it like to play Tigers again after all the PL2 days?
Yeah, it was good. Reignited the rivalry that we had, but it wasn't really much of a rivalry. But yeah, it was good. It was good to get the result considering of all the other games being washed out. It was good to play. Yeah, we walked away very happy with the end result of the day, and happy to keep 2 clean sheets as well, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Danny, I want to talk about this weekend. It's another huge game for you guys because I think what's really separated you from sort of the middle of the table is that you've had that win against one of the sort of top 3 teams, I would say, and that's what's got you 3 points ahead as well. So Ropes have won 3 games this season. It's against teams that maybe on paper you'd expect them to beat. No real upsets, no real surprise results from them, whereas, for you had that one over Marion. So I want to know, is it games like Ropes? This is my opinion. I think it's games like Ropes that really separate who will make finals and who will not, because these are the sort of contentious teams that get games that anyone could win. So you've already beaten them once this year. So how key is it to doing it again, and what's the method to doing it again?
I think any game in this comp is key to win. I think it's more even than people give it credit for. So a game against Ropes. Listen, they're a tricky opponent. They are one of those clubs that you can't take for granted because they are very well structured, and they definitely give you a challenge on the day, on the night. So it is important that we back up from the Tigers win and come through with a good solid result. It just keep us going in the right direction on the table, especially after a period where we've gotten through where we've been really low on numbers for about a month. So we've got a couple plays back, and that's always welcome. So hopefully that'll put us in good stead.
Mm-hmm. Mitch, just a final question. We're at the restarting point of the draw now. Obviously, we missed the game against Riverstone that you would have had as the first one back, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So how would you sort of rate your first half of the season? And are you keen to sort of look to replicate or even do better in the second half of the season?
Yeah, we started off obviously with the draw against Riverstone, and then had a couple of wins, and then we went on a bit of a losing streak, which wasn't ideal, but we turned it around, and we've had a few good, strong results since then. Going into the second half of the season, I think definitely look to be better, and just build on the recent form and results that we've got now, and definitely look to push into the finals. I feel last year we missed out due to our bad form towards the back end of the season, so definitely want to rectify that issue this year.
Certainly, and sort of same question just to you, Danny, as well. First half of the season has landed sort of that first grade team up into fourth, and obviously you want to look to continue that. So, um, is that the plan? I guess that's the plan, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. It's a plan for any club when you start out the season. It's you set your goals, and we obviously want to strive further than what we did last year. I mean, it has been a challenge this first half so far. Obviously, we've had to embed gel some new players into the squad. We lost, let's say we lost a lot of the players in our first grade, due to their family commitments and whatnot. So it's taken us a while to get to where we are. And so hopefully we can just push forward on this. And listen, on our day, I think we compete with every. Listen, I think we compete with every team in this comp on our day, and it's just a matter whether we can, tip the result in our way. So I'm confident every game we go into, and I'm confident this weekend as well.
Yep, certainly good to hear. Obviously that 3-2 game earlier in the season against Ropes would have been fun. Three first half goals from you guys. They came and scored two, and then both teams just sort of became less sharp on the other end until the end of the 90s. So I'm sure we're in for hopefully another 5-goal thriller. The way you guys have replaced talent over the last couple of years, as you've also been promoted as well, has been fantastic. So keep doing what you're doing. It's a pleasure to watch you guys, like I said at the start, cement yourselves as a big wig in the first division. And who knows what you could achieve when you get all your players back and everyone's really gelled coming into the season come September. So thanks very much for joining us on the podcast. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll see you then. Thank you. Thanks to the Hinton boys for fitting that into their busy schedules. I want to now cross straight away to Ropes Crossing. I had a good conversation with 3 of their players. Ropes Crossing join us for the second time this season. Like last time, we're joined by Blake Fufus and, of course, James Field, but so does Mr. Free Scoring Ahmed Badat for the first time in podcast history. Welcome to the Blacktown Premier League podcast. James, last time we spoke was ahead of that Workers Match of the Round game. You smashed the crossbar with a long shot from about 45 yards out in that one, and I assume you remember it, of course, fondly. That game, that whole match of the round was so close. It was decided by a couple of moments. Was it frustrating that one to not come away with any points?
Yeah, definitely. I think we deserved at least a point from that game. I thought defensively we had a few lapses in concentration, which kind of seems to be the theme this season. But I will put that down to just not having the same 11 on the pitch for 2 weeks in a row. I think we've managed to have it twice, and that's it. And that's just due to injuries and people going away and all sorts. But yeah, I do think we could have come away with at least a point from that match. And I do remember talking to a few of the other boys on the other team at the time, and they believed the same thing as well. Actually, they said it was a good challenge. And yeah, I certainly watched that shot of mine off the crossbar multiple times afterwards, slowed it down, looked at it, and yeah, so still obsessed with it.
No, good man. You got to hold on to those moments tightly, that's for sure. The game after that, Blake, was actually the previous encounter that you guys had with Eastern Creek, who were, of course, your match of the round opponents this weekend. That game was 3-2 to them. Now, that was a really weird game. You went down 3-0. You brought it back to 3-2, but obviously you didn't get any points out of it. So if you quickly cast your mind back, I mean, they scored 3 quick-fire goals in the first half. So what happened in that first 30 minutes that just went sort of so wrong? And because the previous performance, the previous week, the match of the round was great. So what went so wrong in that first third of the game, and what were the learnings from that?
Yeah, very similar story to the previous game in terms of the lapse of concentration defensively, poor communication. Whose man's going to get the ball? They go through and score those quick fire goals. Yeah, definitely plenty of frustration due to those lapses throughout everyone on the team. Not went down to, passes not hitting their mark and so on. And it sort of just spiraled a bit from there. Got a bit of resolve second half to pull a couple back, but time ran out on that one, unfortunately.
Yep, that certainly happens sometimes. Let's swing things around to be way more positive now. 7 goals already, Ahmed, this year, according to Dribble, I will say. That could be more, I don't know. You got 2 in the first round, and since then you've just been kicking on since where you ended last year. You've been doing really, really well with the goals. I'm not surprised. But when I did watch the Workers game, what I was surprised by was, you were quite versatile in your role. You were dropping in to receive, and obviously I saw that plenty in the build up to All Stars as well. So your role is quite versatile. Your only job is not to just be on the end of tap ins, for example. So I actually want to know. This is your opportunity to talk about some of the goals you've scored this year, and maybe pick 1 or 2, and talk to me about the kind of goals that you're scoring, because I haven't had the chance to actually see one in person just yet. May that end this weekend, but I just want to know what kind of goals you're scoring, and what can people look forward to.
Look, to be honest, it's been a little bit. It feels like since I last scored. Last game we played, I only got half, and obviously washouts and things. To be honest, feels like I haven't kicked a ball in a long while. But so, I mean, as you said, that's kind of my game. I do like to get involved. I like to have the ball and, kind of play my teammates in and get on the end of things as well. A few of my favorite goals, I guess, definitely the first against Mariong, round 1, a header. I don't score headers very often. First goal against Prospect, my 1 goal against Prospect. Just picked the ball up in midfield. I played Josh Vieira through. Yeah, he, I guess, gave it back to me, edge of the box. I took a touch and finished it. So kind of something like that, getting involved in the play, playing teammates in, and maybe getting on the end of it too.
Fantastic. A selfless striker in the Blacktown Premier League. This question is a quite open-ended one. I'm happy for one person to answer, happy for all 3 to answer, perhaps. For the sake of mixing it up, I'd love to see a team that didn't make the finals last year make the finals this year, just to give us a bit of variety to the fans and to the teams themselves. But right now, after the Tigers game, where Ahmed, you played 45 instead of the full 90, we're in danger of seeing that top 5 being the same as last year. So, in fairness, on Eastern Creek, who are in that top 5, you've got a game in hand, and when you play them, you'll still have a game in hand. Should you win against Creek, you'll jump Tigers on goal difference, and you'll cut that gap down to 3 points, and that's when it becomes in your hands completely. So it is very close if you get the win this week, and it's a very crucial game. So whoever is brave enough to answer, we're at the halfway point of the season now. Would you say that this is probably the most important game of the season in terms of not just who you're versing? It was so close last time, but how important it is to beat them in order to try and grip onto one of those final spots?
To be honest, I think every game's just as important. It kind of has been like that for us for a while. I guess in a similar vein to last year, like our slow start kind of resulted us in, I guess, needing to win to keep things up. And we've kind of found ourselves in a similar situation this year. I think every game, every week is extremely important for us.
Funnily enough, actually this time last season, we were sitting in the same position in terms of points wise, and probably even similar our form wise. We went on a bit of a run last year, and we did that a couple of weeks ago. Obviously dropped points against Tigers, but certainly I think the 2 games that stand out to me, and probably a few of the other boys as well, is the game we did play Eastern Creek last time, and I would put the Tigers one in there as potential games that I believe that we definitely should have got the points with those ones. So yeah, I think Saturday is an important game for us. And if we can pick up the points there and knowing we've got games in hand, I think even getting a few points from the top clubs, even if it's a draw, certainly will put us in good stead going into the back end of the season. Yeah.
Boofy, is it just to wrap it up, is it just as simple as not making as many defensive errors, or is there something else that's missing to go to the next level?
Defensive lapse and concentration for sure. It's always disappointing when, you've worked so hard, 45 minutes, and one lapse of concentration sees you concede. So that's there, of course, as well as I'd say trying to get more consistency in who's playing week on week. A bit difficult with a few boys away, overseas holidays and injuries, of course. But I guess just people getting more familiar with playing with each other when we have had those. So now that sort of most of those combinations have occurred, you sort of know how to play, where to play. So that's sort of the strategy going forward.
Yep, fantastic. Seems like a reasonable opinion to have. And I know that we've talked about sort of defensive lapses already this year, but if that's something that eventually cuts down, then we know what Ropes can do. One thing you guys don't lack, for example, is creativity and goals up top. So if you guys can just lock it in defensively, there's no telling to what you guys could achieve. Boys, thanks very much for joining us on the podcast tonight. I really am appreciative of all of you for tuning in and coming in gear as well. It's fantastic. Looks great for the club. Thanks for being on here, and I'll see you Saturday. A really important game, and there needs to be a winner from Ropes and if they really want to make a push for the top 4 or top 5, I should say. So be interesting to see how they go, because they haven't had the best of luck in these festivals in years gone by. But we'll see what they can do at Ropes Crossing Reserve this weekend. Is it time for some fixtures? Because I think it is. Rooty Hill take on Mount Druitt as they try to recover against one of the best offensive teams in the league. Polonia take on Oakville in what you say on the form chart has to be a game where Oakville are considered the favourites. Parklea, if they bring their A game against Glenwood, could prove to be one of the most fascinating games of the weekend for sure. And St Pat's are going to have to bring their A game against Newbury to keep Oakville now out of their hair. The match of the round is Ropes and Creek in the PL1, live from Ropes Crossing Reserve. Prospect take on Juniors in what is a set of games that could be their most important of the season. Marion put 7 on Tigers last time. Will it be different this time around? Pons and Rivo in the first half of the season was a midweek 6-3 in favour of those in gold and black. Will that change this time? In what is probably the best game on paper, Dooney host Workers. To the WPL, Tigers go to Norwest. The match of the round is, of course, first v second, Kellyville versus Quakers Juniors. 3 p.m, see you there. Parklea take on Holroyd in a grand final rematch, the teams 3rd and 4th, both needing a win. And Marion take on Winstow in a game that either team could win. Good luck to them both. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Blacktown Premier League podcast, episode 14. Thank you so much, of course, for tuning in. I hope you recovered from the amount of content that I gave you last week in the mid-season review. Hope you all enjoyed the opinions that I had on your team. As far as I'm concerned, most teams were pretty happy. I didn't get slandered too much, so that's great. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to leave a like if you're keen for the Euros, Copa America, for the match of the round on Saturday, for the match of the round on Sunday, for me to get a haircut, whatever it is. Leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, tune into the live streams, go Italy, and I'll see you guys this time next week. Cue the outro music.